Okay, I don't know if I can help you, Michael. You're gonna have to do it yourself. Okay, I don't know if you, Michael, if you can hear me, so you have to maybe go in your bottom left corner, and it might be over there. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so we asked the question from the Pri Chodesh. She asked, "What's the Simcha of Lag BaOmer?" We know that the students of Rekiva stopped dying, but he only had 24,000, so he had none left. So what's the Simcha? So the Pri Chodesh explains the Simcha was that it didn't take to the new Talmidim. We know that Rabbi Kiva started anew. He started with another 5 Talmidim, or 7 as it says in the Medrash, and they did not die. Now, most notably amongst his Talmidim, amongst his new students, was Rav Shimon Bar Yochai. Rav Shimon Bar Yochai was also the author of the Zohar. Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, he passed away on Lag BaOmer. Now, it was also on Lag BaOmer that some say that Rabbi Kiva gave smicha to his 5 new Talmidim, or 7. Not only that, there is a story which we'll try to elaborate upon with Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, where he was running away from the Romans and went into a cave for a total of what ended up being 13 years. And he emerged from the cave on Lag BaOmer. So we have a simcha here that the new Talmidim didn't die. Rabbi Kiva was able to start over. And most notably, amongst his Talmidim was Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, who authored the Zohar. He gave him smicha on Lag BaOmer. He came out of the cave on Lag BaOmer. And he also died on Lag BaOmer. It was the day of his yahrzeit. And the day of his yahrzeit, the day on Lag BaOmer, Rav Shimon Bar Yochai passed. So there is a tradition that the Bnei Yissaschar cites that the day that he left this world, he revealed many secrets. As we know, he was the author of the Zohar, and that is our deepest, Kabbalistic work. And on the day that he left this world, so he revealed these secrets, and the day was a longer day. The sun did not set until he was done revealing what he wanted to reveal. It was a miracle. And to commemorate this, so some explain that we have bonfires to, so to speak, light up the sky, just like that day when Rav Shimon Bar Yochai left this world, too, that day was a longer day. The sun was bright and lasted longer, so too we're commemorating that moment. Now, let's try to understand this on a deeper level, the value of what Rav Shimon Bar Yochai provided for us and what the nature of the Simcha of Lag BaOmer is all about. So in order to understand that, we need to go to the beginning. There's Lag BaOmer, there's Sfiras HaOmer, the counting that we do, and there's the fact that the Talmidim of Rabbi Kiva died during this time. So let's understand the core of the mitzvah of Sfiras HaOmer. What is the nature of our counting that we are doing? The nature of our counting is a mitzvah in the Torah. Rabbi Kiva, there are certain things, when people think Sfira, they think, okay, no haircuts, no music. They think about the halachas of Avelis, the laws of mourning. But that's not at all what Sfiras HaOmer is. That happened to have taken place during Sfiras HaOmer, that the students of Rabbi Kiva died, as we'll discuss, because they were lo'inogu kavod zel lezeh. They didn't give each other proper respect. And so we have laws of mourning about that. And of course, there's no coincidences, but that's not the essence of the mitzvah. The essence of the mitzvah, Sfiras HaOmer, has nothing to do with that. They did die at a specific time during this time period for a specific reason, but the nature of Sfiras HaOmer is entirely different. Let's understand. The Sefer Chinuch says that the nature of Sfiras HaOmer is a very important message for us, a very important attitude of Klal Yisrael, and that is that we came out of Mitzrayim, Yetzias Mitzrayim, and with Yetzias Mitzrayim, so we understood the entire purpose of our being taken out was not to be free so that we could just do whatever we want. That's not the purpose. The purpose was to receive the Torah. The purpose was ultimately to be able to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That was the purpose. So we start counting in anticipation, like a child who's counting down to a special day, a birthday, a trip. So we're counting to Matan Torah because we can't wait for that moment. It's an expression of our love. It's an expression of the fact that we're not trying to avoid receiving the Torah. We're not trying to shirk or shrug anything. It's something that we're looking to embrace. This is the nature of Sfiras HaOmer. It's a tremendous simcha, and the Sefer HaChinuch says that really we should start counting on the first night of Yetzias Mitzrayim, because since the purpose of Yetzias Mitzrayim is to receive the Torah, we should start counting then. It's just that we want to give one night uniquely to recognize our exodus, our leaving of Mitzrayim, and what Hashem did for us then, so that we don't overlap ideas, and we give each idea its proper attention. So it's a tremendous simcha, the counting of Sfiras HaOmer. Not only that, the nature of the counting is a growth process. Every single day during Sfira, we are to be growing, we are to be changing, we are to be examining ourselves and seeing how we can improve. There are memches kinyanim of the Torah. There are 48 ways that the Torah can be fully absorbed if we want to get maximum benefit from the Torah. So there are 48 things that we need to work on to get the full Torah experience. The Talmidim of Rabbi Yisrael Salanter and others, they would work on each one of these methods of acquisition, each one of these forms of acquisition for 48 days, and the 49th day, so they would review them all. It's not just a time of preparation of the full experience of Torah. Most notably, it's a time of working on our midos, on our character. It's a time where we must have achtos. It's a time where there must be unity. It's a time where people must be getting along. Vayichan sham Yisrael neged ahar. We encamped by the mountain, and then we received the Torah. Vayichan sham, it says that we encamped, and it says in the singular. And Rashi says until then there was always machlokas, there was always strife, there was always dispute, there were always arguments, and we were not unified. It was only at that moment we became unified. From that moment, we were able to continue to be unified for future times as well. That was the first time, and it was a major deal to become unified. And we would not have received the Torah had that not taken place. This time period of Sfira, the time where we prepare ourselves, it's a time where we have to work on ourselves. We were given a gift at Pesach, Yetzias Mitzrayim. We didn't deserve it. We were on the lowest level, Mem Teshari Tumah, the 49th level of Tumah. We didn't deserve to be taken out. In fact, there was a great prosecution against us that we were doing Avodah Zarah, that Mitzrayim were doing Avodah Zarah. What did we merit that we should be taken out? That was not a simple matter. It was a gift. It was a gift. But then we worked a little bit. We jumped into the Yam Suf, as we spoke about. We earned it a little bit. But that wasn't enough yet to receive the Torah yet. We needed to work on ourselves. This is actually a very important concept. This is a system that existed with the birth of Klal Yisrael, and it is a system which continues throughout time, and it can explain a lot of things in each of our lives if we take note of this structure and explain. Hashem does this all the time. Hashem gives a burst of energy, like a flash of lightning in the dark field, and it's a gift. And now you can see, but then the lights go off. And then You don't know where to go. But you had a burst of energy, you had a flash of light, and now you have some direction. It's dark. You got to work for it now. You got to work your way through the darkness. But Hashem did give you a gift of that flash of light to be able to work towards something. Now you saw where your destination is. You're able to work towards it. You could rummage your way through the field once you had that flash of light. That's what happened. We had Yetzias Mitzrayim. It was a gift. Then we had to work. And then when we work, it brings another great revelation, another phase of Matan Torah, where Hashem reveals even more. This explains a lot in our lives if we think about it. I'm sure that everyone has experienced something like this. There are moments where we're just on fire with inspiration. It might be for 30 seconds, it might be for 10 minutes, it might be for weeks, it might be for years. There are moments where Hashem gives us bursts of inspiration as a gift. And then he takes it away. He's taking it away because now it's our turn. Now we have to work on it. He's not to give everything on a silver platter, but he gives us some direction, a flash of light in a dark field. And now we have something to work towards. You see, this is very common. Someone who, who had a lot of inspiration. Rabbi Akiva Tatz, one of the, world-renowned speaker, Rabbi Dr. Akiva Tatz, and he himself is about tshuva, and he's a tremendous Talmid Chacham now. He's a world sought-after Talmid Chacham and speaker, and he's written many books. And he says about himself, he said to his Rebbe once, he said, things aren't as exciting as they used to be. So his Rebbe told him, he said, welcome to phase 2. You see, Hashem gives you a gift, and you have that inspiration, and it might be for 5 minutes, it might be for 10 years, it might be for 20 years. And then things may start to go stale. How long Hashem chooses to give that gift for is arbitrary. That's up to Hashem. But there's a point where he takes it away. And now the excitement is gone. And now you're on your own. But it gives you direction, something to work towards. It's kind of like also Echasan and Kala under the chuppah. So they have great ideals. And they hopefully have thought about life. And they may have great inspiration and great direction. And everything is so idealistic and so beautiful. And they're on cloud 9. And it doesn't last forever, that moment. But it gives them something to work towards. Those, if they are idealistic under their chuppah, so then they have something to work towards. It's a burst of inspiration that Hashem will give that couple, so that now they can have some direction how to build their home. This was the process of the creation of Klal Yisrael, and it's so that way for each and every one of us. Now, it's a time period of working, Sfiras HaOmer, where we have to work. We're given a gift, but we need to work. And most significantly, we need to work on our midos, on our Bein Adam L'Chavera, our personal interaction with others. We need to work on having achdus, getting along with each other. We need to recognize that our social distancing should give us pause to appreciate the ability to interact with other people. It should give us pause that each person's 6 to 8 feet, their own dalet amos, their own 4 amos, makes them in their own world, and we're each in our own world, and each person, every human being, is, as described by Chazal, our sages, an olam katan, a small miniature world. Everybody is their own world. Everyone has their own mission, their own purpose. And we have to appreciate the value of each person. So Sfiras HaOmer is a time to work on ourselves. Now we can go to the next level. Rabbi Akiva had, it says, 12,000 pairs of Talmidim, equaling 24,000. Save it for another time why it's expressed that way. 12,000 pairs and not 24,000. But he had 24,000 Talmidim, and they all died between the time period of Pesach and Shavuos for a time period of 33 days. According to some, it was for the first 33 days, stopping on Lag BaOmer at this time. Why did they die now? And why were they held so accountable And why do we make such a big deal about it? It's not the first time, unfortunately, that many Jews have died. There have been persecutions much larger than 24,000 people dying, and yet we don't have an avelus, any laws of mourning over it. Even the Holocaust, no laws of mourning were implemented. And the reason for that actually has been said is because all of our tsaros are rooted and contained in Tisha B'Av. That's the source of all problems, that there's no Beis Hamikdash. So it must be that the loss of these Talmidim is something different. There's something unique about it. Now, the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva, it says they were loinogu kavod zeh b'zeh, that they did not give each other proper respect. We must deal with this with proper reverence, understanding these were great people. They were tzaddikim, and tzaddikim are held to a higher standard. They're held to a higher standard. We mentioned in a previous year that their lack of respect for one another was actually coming from a very good place. The Shem Yishmuel says it was because they viewed themselves as one entity, so much so that they felt that there's no need to praise one another. Just like the right hand doesn't have to praise the left hand, and one finger doesn't need to praise the other. We're all part of one body. We're all in this together. We don't see that distinction of limbs performing their own duties, and we feel no need to give any praise. It's just part of the oneness of one body. So too, the Talmid of Rabbi Akiva felt so unified that they failed to recognize the value of the individual. It was coming from a very strong and important place, but yet still a failure. We know that tzaddikim are held to a higher level, but there's more to it. There's the timing. Let's understand. Rabbi Akiva was so great. He was so great that Moshe Rabbeinu was brought to listen to a shir of Rabbi Akiva in future times, and he was not able to understand what Rabbi Akiva was talking about. He was darshaning on the tagin. He was expounding on the crowns on the tops of the letters written in a Sefer Torah. Moshe Rabbeinu did not understand what Rabbi Akiva was talking about. Everyone is given their own unique role in this world, and that was Rabbi Akiva's role. And he had those secrets, and he's transmitting a very special and deep Torah. Rabbi Akiva was also the one who said, "V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha zeh klal gadol b'Torah." He is the one who emphasized the importance of v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, love your fellow as yourself. Love your fellow, that means beinalo chavero, between each man and his fellow. But it also means the reacha, your friend, is also Hashem. So Rashi explains. Being nice is also being nice to Hashem. Hashem gives to us, we have to give back. Zeh klal gadol b'Torah, this is a fundamental principle in understanding the entire Torah. When you understand that it's about thinking about others, so it will lead you to proper interaction with others and proper interaction with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is obviously not just what Rabbi Akiva preached, but it's of course what he practiced. But yet somehow it didn't fully carry over to his Talmidim. They failed. We must say it was only what we call a shemetz, a speck of a shortcoming. But let's understand, if you want to be the generation that will be responsible for giving over Rabbi Akiva's Torah, Rabbi Akiva, who was at that great level that Moshe Rabbeinu couldn't understand what he was talking about, Rabbi Akiva, who lived via Hafti l'Racha K'mocha, if you want to be the ones responsible for the Mesorah, the chain of tradition, the transmission of Rabbi Akiva's Torah, you're living in such a special time period, then you have to be perfect. The foundation cannot have one crack. If there's one crack, so the Empire State Building comes crumbling down. It's just a matter of time. You must make sure that that foundation is rock solid. If it's off by a couple centimeters, it's going to eventually come tumbling down. So the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva were held to such a high standard because of their greatness and the greatness in that moment in history, that they were the ones to be responsible to transmit Rabbi Akiva's Torah. Rabbi Akiva's Torah has to be pure and pristine. And if they have one mistake, one shortcoming, especially if it relates to Rabbi Kiva's motto, his mantra, V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, how can that continue to be passed to the next generation if they're not living it 100%? So we can understand why they were held so accountable. And specifically at this time, a time for working on ourselves, a time of self-introspection, and specifically a time of achdus, a time of unity, where we cannot receive the Torah without it. So this is a great lesson of this time period. The importance of working on ourselves, the importance of improving ourselves, our insides. Rabbi Akiva, how did he react? It's a very important question. I've searched high and low, and the Gemara makes no mention of his reaction. How do you think he should be feeling over here? Let's put Rabbi Akiva's life into perspective for a moment. Rabbi Akiva was an Am Haaretz. He was completely ignorant until the age of 40. He didn't even know the Aleph Beis. His wife Rachel married him, and she saw something in him. He had good midos, he had good character, but he knew nothing. His father-in-law, Kalba Savua, who was a wealthy man, was not happy with this match, with this shidduch, and he disowned him. And he would not give a penny to his daughter Rachel and his son-in-law Rabbi Akiva. He vowed that they should not have any benefit from his property. And Rabbi Akiva worked so hard, and he sat in with the little children in school, learning the Aleph Beis, going through that embarrassment. And he totally changed his life. An unbelievable task, an unbelievable feat. And he builds up a yeshiva, he becomes the Gadol Hador, the Torah giant of the generation. And 24,000 Talmidim he has. Look what he has to show. And then they all die in such a short time period. Over 700 Levi's funerals every single day. There's a plague going on. They're dying of a misa of askara, which is a very rough and tough type of death, where there is a constriction of the throat, and one has difficulty breathing and speaking, and one cannot even give final instructions to one's family, as described by the Gemara. What does Rabbi Akiva say? The Gemara doesn't tell us anything. So I was thinking, perhaps that in itself is a lesson. The Gemara is teaching us, you know what Rabbi Akiva's response was? Nothing. He accepted it. He understood it was a message from Hashem. It was a message from Hashem, and he didn't start complaining. And he didn't go into depression. He didn't say, Hashem obviously isn't interested in my Torah. Obviously I have it all wrong. I'm an Am Haaretz, and I missed out on the nuances, and I took the wrong path. I didn't get it right. Hashem's not interested in me or my Torah. He's rejecting me. He's slapping me in the face over here. No, he didn't take it that way. And he didn't question God. Like we find by Aaron. Aaron HaKohen, when he lost his two sons, Nadav and Avihu, Vayidom Aaron. It says Aaron was silent. The Chavetz Chaim says the word Vayidom is like the word domem, which means a rock. Aaron HaKohen was quiet. He did not question Hashem to the point where he was like a rock, where you could not even see a change of expression on his face when he learned of the death of his two dear sons. And so Rabbi Akiva is quiet, not a word. He's not questioning HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's not fighting it. And he's not trying to control the world. He's not trying to control this virus, and plague, which is spreading. There's nothing he could do. I can't do anything. Can't do it. You see people today, they can't deal with not being in the driver's seat. They can't deal with not being in control. Modern day medicine has no clue what's going on with this thing. Some of this, the aspects of this is defying certain basics of biology. Certain articles have been written about this. No one has any clue. We can't plan. We can't plan vacations. We can't plan chasnas. We can't plan anything. No bar mitzvahs, no anything. We can't plan anything. What's going to be? We can't plan camp. We can't plan school. We can't plan anything. We're not in charge. There's a very clear lesson for all to learn. We're not in the driver's seat. We're not in the driver's seat. The world can't handle not being in the driver's seat. The world suffers much anxiety. The people are having tremendous anxiety and tremendous depression and mental health problems because people cannot handle not being in control. We as Yidden understand we're never in control. Rabbi Kiva tells a story. He says that his boat capsized and he was out in the water in a situation where most would not have survived. And everyone thought he had died, but somehow he emerged. And they asked him, how did you survive? And he gave a very important answer. Actually, it says he grabbed onto a daf shel sfina. This is a famous thing from Meir Shapiro that he held onto the daf. The daf literally means a board, but it can also mean a page. So he held on to the Gemara. But Rabbi Kiva says something else there. He says, and it's such an important lesson, I think about this very often in life. There are waves that come, and he says, I didn't fight the wave, I just went with it. You try and fight the power, you don't get anywhere. And you struggle in the water trying to fight the wave, you lose your energy, and it just overtakes you. You can't fight the wave. If it's something you could do about, go for it. If it's something logical, if it's a natural step, but sometimes you see there's just nothing I could do. So what are you fighting? What are you kicking and screaming for? Don't fight the wave, just go with it. What's important is our reaction. We can never control circumstances. What is important is how we react to the cards that are dealt to us, to the circumstances which Hashem is dictating to us. There is one response that we find from Rabbi Akiva in the Medrash. These are the only words that I'm aware of that we find Rabbi Akiva making any mention of any reaction to this whole plight of losing 24,000 Talmidim. He's not crying, he's not questioning, he's not banging, the walls of Shemayim down, nothing, not a word. He's quiet, he's accepting. There's only one response we find in the Medrash. He started over, which is an amazing thing. As the Pri Chadash says, the death did not spread to the new Talmidim. It's not just that the death did not spread to them. There's a simcha involved that Rabbi Akiva started again and he didn't give up. He didn't give up. And he started new. But he didn't just start over the same way, because otherwise you're doing the same thing. So now you have 24,005 Talmidim. There's no change. What do you think is going to happen if you're going to do the same thing? So Rabbi Akiva says in the Medrash, he says, Banai, my children. He tells his new Talmidim, his new students, Banai, my children. He talks to them with love. He says, please be careful. He says, my former Talmidim, they died because they were tsar ayin. They had a narrow eye, a negative eye against each other. They weren't viewing each other properly. Don't be that way. The opposite of a tsar ayin is an ayin tov, where we just want the best for others. We see the good in others. He reacted by examining himself, by changing his ways, by redirecting himself, not becoming arrogant and stubborn and saying, I know I did the right thing. I changed my entire life. Of course that was the right thing. Of course Hashem's not rejecting my Torah. It's these Talmidim. Look, I didn't die. They died. So he could have stood strong and he could have said, look, I'm the survivor. I'm the one who is supposed to remain because I'm the only one who got it right. Unfortunately, my Talmidim didn't get it. No. He understood, I have to change myself. And I have to change the way I give things over to my students, to my Talmidim. He changed himself. Rabbi Akiva understood we cannot control the circumstances. There's only one thing that we can control, and that is ourselves, how we react and how we respond. And this is always the Jewish mentality. The Torah tells us when something happens to us, when there's a challenge, when there's an nisayon, a test, it is a test. And when something happens, we need to ask ourselves, why is this happening to me? Not to question God. That's foolish. That's foolish. But to question, why is this happening to me? And to think, you know what? Maybe I did this and that. We don't know. We don't know. But sometimes we have an idea of our shortcomings and what we really need to be working on. Why this kind of seems to fit. Why the shoe seems to fit here. How the punishment seems to fit the crime. And it's not a punishment, it's a message. This is the reaction of Rabbi Akiva. He's not fighting the plague. He's not fighting the virus. He's changing himself. He's examining himself. And he's not giving up. And he's going to start over. And he's going to start over with new Talmidim. And he's going to teach them differently. And what's going to happen now, it's not about the quantity. It's about the quality. It's about the quality. It's about the depth of their character and how they will act as people of depth and viewing the depth of every other Jew. Let me put this in some final sensitive terms to the time period that this took place with, of which perhaps we can gain tremendous insight and value from our present times. There's something else which is going on here. There's something else which was happening historically. Let's understand when Rabbi Akiva lived. It's very important to understand this history. Rabbi Akiva was born, it's about at the end of the second Beis HaMikdash. Maybe he saw the Beis HaMikdash as a young boy. He's living primarily just after the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. When this whole story of his Talmidim is taking place, so, it's like, there maybe we didn't see, some people in today's generation, so some saw the Holocaust. We definitely know people that experienced it. So he was living in that kind of a generation where, the generation above him had all been in the Beis HaMikdash, for sure. They all saw that. And there was Roman persecution and people were dying. And this was ultimately Rabbi Akiva's end. Rabbi Akiva was put to death because he went against the Roman decree and taught Torah. But there was something very unique taking place. First, let's understand what this means. The loss of the Beis HaMikdash, and the people saw the Beis HaMikdash. They thought it was over. They thought life was over. And they thought that's it. Hashem isn't interested in us anymore. That's how people felt. Not too long later was the fall of Beitar, which is also right around this time period. What was significant about the fall of Beitar was there was a resurgence of Jewish strength against the Romans. There was a physical war going on. The Jews were gathering soldiers and fighting back, and we were gaining ground. This was led by Bar Kokhba, the famous Bar Kokhba revolt. Rabbi Akiva believed that Bar Kokhba was the Mashiach. He wasn't. The Rambam says, we know that Bar Kokhba wasn't the Mashiach, and it was known because he died. You can't die and still be Mashiach. It can't happen. But Rabbi Akiva saw something in Bar Kokhba. And if Rabbi Akiva was able to have a Torah that even Moshe Rabbeinu couldn't understand, then certainly he was seeing things in Shemaim, and he saw something about the times. This is a time, there's an opportunity. Yes, there was a destruction of the Beis HaMikdash not too long ago, but the time is ripe. And Mashiach could come right now. And he believed Bar Kokhba was the Mashiach. Maybe, so he was wrong. But he must have seen something as a tremendous opportunity at hand. Tremendous opportunity. Tremendous opportunity. And in fact, there was also in Torah a tremendous burst of Torah that was going on. Despite all the darkness around them, despite all the Roman persecutions and decrees and forcing them not to learn Torah. This is when the Onkelos came out and the Mechilta was written, and Rabbi Akiva with all of his Torah, this time period of the Tanoim, this was a tremendous time, and ultimately Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, his Talmud, Rabbi Akiva didn't give up, and he produced a Talmud, a student of Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, who authored the Zohar, the deepest Kabbalistic work of all time. The greatest and deepest secrets. What was happening here was an opportunity. Mashiach was at the doorstep. Rabbi Akiva saw that. It had to have been. So Mashiach didn't come. But there was an opportunity, and it was a failed opportunity. And these Talmidim failed in that regard. It was an opportune time. And when Mashiach is at the doorstep, you got to be on your best behavior. Things have to be perfect. You got to get all the moves right, and all the pieces have to be in place, and then he can come. There are many times in life and throughout Jewish history where Mashiach could come, and there have been opportune times where he's right at the doorstep. Right at the doorstep. The Gemara says, "Batipach rucham Shomachashvei Kates, those that are trying to tell you when Mashiach is coming. He's coming right now. And I have a calculation of Gematria and a miracle value. He's coming in this year. Forget it. Forget it. It doesn't mean that's not an opportune time. It doesn't mean it's not an auspicious time for him to come. It may be. But it bottom line boils down to what it says. We say this in the Kabbalah Shabbos. It's in Tehillim. Hayom im bekolo tishmu. He'll come today if you listen. It was a failed opportunity, and it was a sensitive time because it was an opportunity. We too are living in unprecedented times. Think about what's happened in history, a Holocaust, and then we get Eretz Yisrael. What's happening? What's happening? A resurgence? Shuls after a Holocaust, yeshivas after a Holocaust, a burst of Torah, Bali Tshuva. Torah is bursting from the seams. And now we have very unique times, something unprecedented, something which perhaps has never happened on such a global level with the world shutting down in the way it has. It's just very unique, very, very unique times. And there are many signs, what would seem to be signs of redemption. There were signs from the Holocaust that the Gedolim had already spoken about. Mashiach is at the doorstep. And this may be too. We spoke in the past about how we were at home in the Seder, locked in our homes, quarantined in our homes. The Baal HaTurim talks about how in the times of Mashiach, it's going to be like that. There are other signs. There's a Ramchal, an interesting Ramchal, which has been going about. Ramchal, the author of the Das Tfunos, the Derech Hashem, the Mesilas Yesharim. The Ramchal says that in the days of Mashiach, he says something interesting. He says, there was once a Beis HaMikdash, and this was like a window of light, just bringing bracha to the world. When that window got closed, so then little windows popped up. Those little windows were shuls, miniature Bate Mikdashos, a miniature Beis HaMikdash, a Mikdash Ma'at. A shul is a miniature Beis HaMikdash. And the Ramchal says that these shuls burst open, filling what the Beis HaMikdash was accomplishing in a miniature way, where there are these windows of light and bracha being brought to the world. And the world, he says, cannot survive without these windows of bracha. But he says that when the Beis HaMikdash, the third and final Beis HaMikdash, will be rebuilt, says the Ramchal, he says when it will be rebuilt, so the opening of that window, that big window, will mean the closure of those smaller windows. And there will be a time where all of those smaller windows will all be closed. And it will seem like it's darkness. But it's really about the opening of the big window of the Beis HaMikdash. Does he mean our times? I don't know. I can't really tell you. But wow. Who knows? But that's not for us to figure out. We don't know. We have no idea. What's important is our reaction. Do we react like Rabbi Akiva and realize, I'm not in the driver's seat? Hashem is in the driver's seat. I'm in the passenger seat. The only driver's seat that I'm in is working on myself and improving myself. And improving myself in how I conduct myself and interact with others. And if I have Talmidim, how I teach them. And we're all teaching people in different ways. This is how Rabbi Akiva reacted. This is to be our response. This is the lesson of Lag BaOmer. Rishon Bar Yochai, the Talmud he produced a light of the Zohar. He produced a light during difficult times, awful, horrible times, times of persecution. And yet the greatest light emerged. The deepest secrets of the Torah were revealed from Rishon Bar Yochai on the day of his passing on Lag BaOmer. And amidst all of this darkness, a time of persecution, Roman persecution, his Rabbi Akiva died. They combed Rabbi Akiva's skin. They combed his skin alive with iron combs. He died a very painful and torturous death. It was a horrible, horrible time with many Yidden dying, a very, very dark time. And yet the greatest light emerged from amidst that darkness. That was Rishon Bar Yochai. He's the one who went into the cave, running away from the Romans. But what did he do? He became a whole different kind of person. He became a whole different kind of person when his experience that he was miraculously in that cave. And when he came out, he viewed the world differently. Just briefly, when he came out the first time after 12 years, he saw people working and he couldn't understand, how could you be planting and sowing and harvesting? What are you doing? What are you doing? You're living a physical life, a temporary life, and you're leaving learning and davening and mitzvos, a life of eternity. Let's appreciate that historically. He must have been thinking, don't you know there was a base of Mikdash that was just recently destroyed? Do you think it's going to be rebuilt when you're engaging in such mundane activities? And everywhere he looked, he destroyed it with his eyes, with fire. And some say the bonfires commemorate that as well. But he turned it all around and he went back in the cave and he readjusted himself and he worked on himself and he said, no. He says, you are connecting in different ways. And he saw someone running on Erev Shabbos with Hadassim, with the myrtles. And he said, what are those about? He said, that's for Shabbos, for the Zachar and the Shomer and the Asir. They're just trying to honor the Shabbos. He said, look how they love mitzvahs. He saw people are connecting through the physical, elevating the physical. This is a fundamental concept in the Zohar, elevating the physical, taking the mundane and raising it to higher purposes. Rishon Bar Yochai brought tremendous light to the world, a light amongst the deepest and darkest of times, a time when we felt forlorn and abandoned, that Hashem is not interested in us. He rejected us. He destroyed the Beis HaMikdash. He took away Rabbi Akiva. Thousands of Yidden had died. But Rabbi Akiva continued and he persevered. And he produced a Rishon Bar Yochai who revealed the greatest light of all time. And those bonfires commemorating Rishon Bar Yochai, that's a bonfire amidst the darkness. And that is our lesson. The lesson is, it's all about improving ourselves internally. It's all about reacting, recognizing it's all in Hashem's hand. All I can do is improve myself and trying to bring light amongst the darkness, by making ourselves better and having a deeper appreciation for all of those around us. So may we learn this lesson of Lag BaOmer. Recognize that it seems that Mashiach is certainly at the doorstep. It's certainly an opportune time. Will it happen? We have no idea. It's not for us to figure that out. What's for us is to improve ourselves and improve the world around us, making bonfires amidst the darkness, bringing light to the darkness around us, becoming better and greater people. May we be zochet to that tremendous light of that big window opening up finally, that window of bracha from the third and final Beis HaMikdash. May we be zochet to rebuilding of the Beis HaMikdash. Amen. Thank you all for joining. Okay. Okay.